to you. Yeah. So good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the inaugural edition of the IMA Communication, Media and Entertainment Alumni Special Interest Group webinar series. The alumni special interest groups at IMA are platforms that bring together alumni, faculty, and students and leverage the collective intellectual resources engaged in specific areas such as healthcare, education, technology, analytics, public policy, etc. To bear on some of the most challenging issues of our times. The ASIG platform allows the Institute community to collaborate with each other much more intimately and to engage with industry and practitioners in a more multifaceted manner. The IMA CME ASIG is a group of alumni and faculty of the Institute with expertise and interest in the field of communication, media, and entertainment, and it fosters collaboration among the IMA community and the wider world of practitioners to contribute to this space. An important activity of the ASIGs are the webinar series, which brings the thoughts, views, and expertise of experts to the IMA community. I'm very happy that we are launching the inaugural edition of the IMA CME webinar series today with the CME expert stream. Today's topic is stretching the frontiers of customer engagement through confluence of technology and media. To share his views on this, I'm happy to welcome Aditya Goel, PGB 2008, VP and GM Strategic Distribution at Glance. In conversation with him, we have Professor Bharathan Kandaswamy, faculty IMA and Director of Kavithalaya Productions. Many of you may already know Kavithalaya Productions, the iconic production house which has produced over 50 plus films and many of them being huge hits, as well as 3,500 plus hours of television content. To all the participants, we will be taking questions after the presentations and discussions by Aditya and Professor Kandaswamy. However, please feel free to send in your questions in the chat. Now I hand over the platform to Professor Kandaswamy to take over the proceedings.
Thank you, Anurag, and good afternoon to all. I'm quite excited about this first inaugural edition of the Media Entertainment ASIG. Just to give a very short story, it was exactly about 2 years and 6 months ago, sometime, I think early 2019, when there was a long discussion with Professor Rakesh Basant, and we were talking about how we should have a media and entertainment ASIG to go forward. And that day has come. Today, with the inaugural edition, there's a lot of work that's gone behind this. I would like to introduce our speaker today, Aditya Goel. It's a long bio, but I try and take the key points, if you don't mind, Aditya. So Aditya Goel is an alumnus of our own institute. I am Ahmedabad from the batch of 2008 and also holds a Master of Technology from Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi. He is currently the Vice President and General Manager at Glance, the leading distribution partnerships. And those of you who may not be very familiar with Glance, it is the world's largest log string platform. As a founding team member, Aditya has scaled the business from scratch to an awesome 170 million daily active users across India and Southeast Asia. Aditya is an experienced business builder with a demonstrated track record of creating value in various sectors. And the interesting thing is he has created value in the space of internet technology, media and entertainment, pharma and financial services, all very strong, fast-growing sectors. Value creation skills, and he loves working on multiplying value to 10x growth opportunities. Aditya has worked also as an investment professional at Greater Pacific Capital before this. So he comes with a multifaceted experience, and I think we have the right person to launch our inaugural edition today. So I just like to also add that from the CV, I'm very interested to inform and share all of you. Aditya's philosophy of life is to keep things simple and not too complex. In his me time, I believe he loves going on long motorcycle rides with friends and practicing yoga, which I'm sure is the most useful thing in these times, particularly playing chess and watching movies. So we cannot have a more qualified person from both background, experience, and also personal philosophy to be speaking on this topic of stretching the frontiers of customer experience. Okay, I'd like to just spend the next 7 to 8 minutes trying to put this topic in context. Okay, now all of us know that technology has been a huge disruptor. And whenever we speak about technology today, every one of us is aware that technology is at the forefront of what is widely called as disruptive innovation. Whether it is the field of public transportation, with examples of Uber, Ola, or the field of hospitality with Airbnb, or the field of digital entertainment streaming video like Netflix, Amazon Prime, or Hotstar, and more recently, a whole lot of 40 plus OTT platforms across Southeast Asia and India. So technology has been a huge disruptor. And actually, this disruption has resulted in what we call the creation of an enhanced customer experience. But in whatever sectors, although today our focus is going to be on the media and entertainment sector, I believe Aditya will also perhaps be speaking about some technology disruptions in a couple of non-media sectors as well, just to provide a context of how technology has actually disrupted different areas. But then I would like to now come to the centric thing is the customer experience. You know, what do we mean actually by this customer experience? And what we need to understand is how this customer experience is actually. Okay, I'd request people to just mute the background so that we have uninterrupted. So customer experience has been the single most important factor for the success of any business. In fact, McKinsey report of 2019, based on a detailed survey of more than about 1,400 companies across the globe, identified that 96% of organizations placed customer experience at the top of their agenda, at top of their management agenda. And the reason for this is not far to say. But again, I would like to go a little bit deeper on this subject of customer experience. What is the definition of a customer today? The definition of a customer itself has changed. From about 20 years back, anybody who would just buy our product or service was a customer. But today, in the connected business reality, everyone in the ecosystem of our business has become a customer. Whether it's an employee or a shareholder or a buyer or a vendor or an investor or a government representative or a regulatory body, every one of us has become a customer. For example, I can say that with reference to my own role as a producer of content, I also watch a lot of Netflix and Prime videos. So I'm not only a consumer or a customer of these platforms, but also a supplier of content. So we are in a connected business reality. And what this has led to is customers have become much more empowered and much more autonomous. And this actually leads to a lot of higher expectations on the part of customers. So the concept of a highly loyal customer is slowly eroding or diluting. Customer loyalty is slowly becoming a thing of the past because we are all forced to focus on the expectations of the customer and trying to deliver the best possible value for these customers. And unlike common belief, I think customers, not all customers are actually looking for a wow experience. Okay, most of the people would actually be looking for that wow experience. For example, in our field of media entertainment, the wow experience, the differential experience, the emotional connect with the content becomes a wow experience. But there are many other sectors, for example, e-commerce deliveries, where you're not looking for a wow experience, but you're certainly looking for a convenience and you're looking for a user-friendly experience. So therefore, customer experience equation, if I may put it that way, is highly individual, it is highly emotional, and it is highly diverse, contextual as well as diverse. So this is the complexity of the customer experience equation that we are facing today. And technology has played a huge role in creating that disruptive factor, which is actually enhancing the potential for a very good customer experience. And there are several examples that Aditya, I'm sure, will come up with. And I don't want to preempt that. Okay, in the media space, for example, in the streaming video field, all the streaming partners, all the big players are trying to go one step ahead of each other in terms of giving that user-friendly experience on their streaming platforms. And we all know that the backbone of all this is the technology. Coming to media per se, there are many, many forms of media, which I'm sure Aditya is going to speak about broadly. But I think today the important thing is that media has become all pervasive. And the kind of devices that we have today, in fact, in the class of 2019, when I was teaching in IIM Ahmedabad, we jointly came up with this concept or idea of www.content. And www stands for whatever, whenever, and wherever of content. So this is the new mantra of content that we are looking at. So with this brief introduction of the topic, I think we are all looking forward to hearing from our speaker, Aditya Goyal, today. I hand over the mic to Aditya to take it forward.
Thank you, Professor. And thanks everyone for joining in. A very good afternoon. It's my pleasure to be here and exchange thoughts on this interesting topic. Before we started, I was just asking who came up with the topic. It is a very, very interesting topic. Actually, I changed the topic slightly. After it was announced from customer engagement to customer experience, because I thought engagement is a kind of a subset to experience. And it is more pertinent to talk about that because that leaves the user with the feeling which they carry, and that's the most important thing for any company. So with this, I would like to start my presentation. Just let me share my screen. Is my screen visible?
Yes.
Okay, great. So, it's a small presentation, 15-20 pages. I'll try and cover it in 15-20 minutes if possible, and then we can have a Q&A. As we start into it, and I was doing my research, I thought it is important to understand how media has evolved, because we have a perspective of customer experience, we have a perspective of tech, and we have a perspective of media. Because we have limited time, I may not be able to cover everything. I'm not an expert also to cover everything, but what I thought is share perspectives on this and see how when they come together, we can stretch the frontiers for the customer experience. So as I was researching on this painting came up. Any guesses what this is? Anyone from the audience?
prehistoric paintings of a boar.
Yeah, very good, very good. So this is a historic painting. This is a pig, yes, and you see two hands also, and this is a cave painting. Interestingly, this is classified as one of the oldest cave paintings, drawn around 45,500-year-old Indonesian man or woman. Why someone will go and draw it on the cave? I think they were trying to communicate something. And this was the medium through which they communicated. Maybe they are trying to say how to catch a pig, how to make a pig run, whatever it is. But paintings were used even 45,000 years ago to communicate something between people. And there have been various innovations which have happened to take forward that. So this, for example, after around 45,400 years ago, when our ancestors came up with the first video. So this is the first video, which I don't know whether it will play. Unfortunately not. So this is the first film produced by humans. This is by Lumiere brothers, the first film, which showcased the life in Paris. It's a 5-minute video. It's there on the YouTube. You must watch it. But when it was released, people were frightened to see, oh, this can happen and this is happening. So I think media has moved from various phases, and when anything of that happened, it brought a lot of, I would say, inflection in terms of how people communicate, exchange information. So let's look at it. Around 2000 years ago, paper was invented in China, and people started to exchange knowledge by writing books. 1500 years passed by, and then came the print technology. And people started printing newspaper and books. And that, I think, was an explosion point in terms of the transfer of knowledge. And then came 300 or 400 years down the line came photography tech, which enabled people to click the moment and use it in newspapers, etc., which again revolutionized the way people were capturing moments, and the world started to get connected at a much faster pace. In terms of communication, I think the first innovation which came in terms of instant communication was telegraphy, when people can send messages, and then came telephone, which allowed two people to talk in a live environment. And then came the time of mass media with radio, when voice media brought masses together and television added videos to it. And we know with internet what has happened. There are new media platforms which have come, and one thing to take from all of this is media industry always leapfrogs through technological innovations. Now, one perspective to this could be, well, technological innovations happen because some new form of media needs to come out. So either ways it could be looked at. It depends from which perspective you are looking at it. And we will talk about that in subsequent slides. So now coming to the point or the question we have, how can we stretch the frontiers of customer experience? I think to answer that, I will share with you what my perspective on customer experience is. Well, for me, customer experience is the sum total of experiences across all touch points a customer has with a company. Now, this could be the brand the company has, the products, the services, etc. So even it's a function of every way a company is trying to, and a customer or potential or existing customer is allowing the company's touch points to interact with him or her. So as simple as an app sending you a notification, or let's say your motorcycle has a certain kind of noise or voice which you really like to hear while you thump it up, or you have your gadget which is not functioning and you call the customer care, or you have you want to return something, and whether you have to make 100 calls or you can just log into your app and just say I want to return it, and someone comes and pick it up and go away. So in every form, the customer is interacting with the company, leaves that individual customer with an experience, and that is what I think is the most important thing for the company, and we'll come to it why. But why is it most important? Because your customer, as Scott Cook, the founder of Intuit, said, is your biggest brand ambassador. A brand, he said, is no longer what we tell the consumer is. It is what consumer tell each other. As per a recent study, two-thirds of the profit of a company comes basis how the customer experience is. If your customer experience is bad for a user, your sales can go down by 50%. And if a customer has two bad experiences, it can go down by 89%. So that is the impact of a good or a bad customer experience can have on a user. So how businesses are using it. Well, we all know Steve Jobs. He's a creative genius. He believed that customer experience is the core to everything. He said, you have got to start with customer experience and work backward towards technology and not the other way around. So initially I said that media was leapfrogging with technology, but he said, figure out what you want to do, and then you figure out the technology. Jeff Bezos, one of the richest persons, most successful businesses around Amazon, he thinks we see our customer as invited guests to a party, and we are the hosts. It's our job every day to make every important aspect of the customer experience a little better. Why I'm picking these quotes? Because these businesses are businesses which didn't exist. They existed in some shape or form, but they were not relevant. And probably they are the largest businesses on earth today within 15 to 20 years. And the reason why they have achieved this level is because they were so focused towards giving the best in the customer experience that they were able to surpass everything else. And most of the users who are using these products, first of all, they became aspirational. Everyone wants to use it. And second, whoever start using these products or their services don't want to leave. And that is because they were so focused towards customer experience. Okay, let's move on. Let's say, let's have another one. Guess which business I'm talking about. This business had a stated strategy of short form streaming platform. It's mobile only, and it targeted younger millennials and Gen Z viewers.
I think TikTok.
Yeah, TikTok is the right answer, but another answer could be QB as well. So both of them had the same philosophy. And you know what happened with both the businesses. TikTok, which actually is the market leader globally in this space, is doing really well. But QB, on the other hand, which started in, I think, March 2020, raised around $1.7 billion without even starting production, 1.7 billion. And it was, it got shut down in 6 months in September, October 2020, because it was not sustainable. Well, there were many reasons why that happened, but I think one of the key differences between them is TikTok was relying on user-generated content. It was not very high on quality, but it was very high on shareability. Whereas QB said, I will make a platform where I'll get the best of Hollywood. I will make high studio quality production, short videos, studio quality. People will subscribe, and that would be a viable business model. So the shareability factor was very minimal because it was subscription. But look what happened. One of the reasons why TikTok did really well is because that user-generated content with shareability had such a high network effect that it just grew on its own pace. And of course, their algorithm, etc. But I think the shareability really made a big difference in terms of growth story for TikTok. Why that? Why shareability, network effect, algorithm for personalized content, etc. is playing such a big role? Well, the reason is this is all played on some kind of a media platform. And this is media is becoming so important for delivering customer experience because people are spending their time there. So this is a very interesting graph. This basically shows amount of time spent by an average American every day on different type of media, and they have classified into digital and traditional media. And you see the curve, the blue curve, which is the digital media from 2011 to expected 2020-22. You see that it moves from whatever 2-3 hours to now almost 450 minutes, 470 minutes, which is phenomenal. I mean, spending 7-8 hours of your day on digital media, and the traditional media of TV, etc., which was there at 450 is coming down. And if you add them together, it basically says 60% of the time is spent on some kind of a media, which is really hard for me to digest. But even if I take it on face value and assume that these are in terms of trend, this is right, this is phenomenal amount of time people are spending on media. And out of that, 35% is on digital. So that's where the massive amount of user attention is. And if that is the media where user is spending their time, everyone should be interested in it because that's where your consumer is. But what is making people spend that much amount of time on media? I mean, there has to be some attraction there. What media is all about content in some shape or form. So I thought, let me look what kind of content is getting generated. This is on the left, you see a representation of kind of content which is being generated. YouTube, 3.5 million videos are being watched every minute. You have Netflix, 97,000 hours of content consumed on Netflix every minute. That much number of people are watching it, basically. You have 21 million Snap being created, 700,000 TikTok videos are there. You have 350,000 tweets going in. You have 500,000 comments coming on FB. But one common thing which you see is the red dots or the red stars are basically platforms where the content is user generated. Of course, there are exceptions within this, but a lot of content is getting generated by the user, which is getting users' attention. And that is the second trend within the time consumed, where that time is getting consumed. It's the user generated time, which is attracting other users to go and consume that content. So I think the key driver, one of the key driver is the user generated digital media would be a key driver for engaging with the customers. Let's take this as a point. Let's park it for now and we'll revisit it. Let's move on. How technology is creating opportunities, challenges, and disruption within this. I think one thing which the technology has done is it has created enormous amount of data. There are around 7.5, 8 billion people on this earth, out of which 5 billion now have internet access. And if you look at the economy, 70% of global GDP is now digitalized. In some shape or form, it is digital. And that has enabled around 44 zettabytes of digital universe. That means the amount of digital data which is there. 1 zettabyte is around 10 to the power 21 zeros. So imagine that much of data is today. And with cloud, that is expected to grow 4 times only on cloud by 2025. And it's not all human generated data. 40% of that would be generated by machines. So that's the quantum of data. And why data is important? Data is important because data tells you a lot about your users if you can decipher information out of it. But are the companies ready for it? A 1.5-year-old survey done by Harvard actually shows companies are not data ready. 72% of the companies believe that they have not forged a data culture. 70% believe they had not created a data-driven organization, and 52% companies are not even ready to compete on data analytics. They don't even think that data is a business asset. So I think there's a lot to be done in terms of bridging the gap of data that is being produced by technology and companies' readiness to use that data. And why that data is important, because if that information which that data carries can be extracted meaningfully, that can be used to do personalization. And that can then create experiences which are far superior than what the current experiences are. So I think companies are yet to achieve the true potential on the big data and the AI side. And once that is done, personalization will give you much better experiences. But it's not that all businesses are like that and all companies are like that. There are certain companies which are tech play, which basically said, okay, we are going to look at data in a tech first manner, and we are going to build businesses around them. Let's talk about those businesses. And these businesses, by the way, have caused massive disruption in the economy. So let's take example of few. Uber, we all know about these businesses. Uber don't own any taxis, but probably they are the biggest taxi company in the world. Airbnb, they don't own hotel, but they are probably the biggest hotel inventory, or OU as they say themselves. They are the biggest hotel inventory in the world. Amazon, they emerged within few years to be second largest retailer in the world after Walmart in terms of revenues. And then you have Fitbit, which has revolutionized the fitness industry. And these business models didn't existed a few years back, and they had a tech first approach in terms of solving user problems, and they solved it basis user experience. I mean, you pick anyone. Let's take Uber. If you had to book a taxi 10 years back, first of all, you can't book it because you have to just go to the road and hail it and someone will come. And if not, you have to figure out another one. If they come, then you have to negotiate how much you will take, what route you will take, and you don't feel safe while traveling that taxi. I think Uber has just solved so many things by bringing the tech first approach towards customer experience. Not only on this, but even on the media side, many best in class disruptions came in. You look at entertainment. Netflix revolutionized that industry. I mean, they killed many industries in the process of that, but we'll talk about how Netflix gave best-in-class customer experience. Most of us must be using that, so we know what it is. Same is with FB, Facebook. How you look at social networking and the content, your personal content you are putting in, and you are consuming massive amount of content of your friends or the brands you like on Facebook, and they don't own any of it, but that is the go-to place for you to consume your content now. Communication. Professor and I were discussing while we were preparing for this. Now 2 billion people every day use WhatsApp. And before WhatsApp came in, I think we were in the era of mobile phones for communication, which by the way, WhatsApp also uses, but we were thinking of those days when we used to use missed calls to pass on messages, because even the calls were so costly and you have to spend 2 rupees to send an SMS, or when it started 10-15 rupees to make a phone call. All of that has changed now. For the company I work for, Glance, it took a surface out approach. It said, if you have to create a media place, you can use surfaces, phone surfaces being one, TV surfaces being one, and create a media platform which is highly loved by the users because people like frictionless content, and we'll again talk about it soon. Then you have Sony, which revolutionized the gaming industry by bringing in PlayStation. Kindle is a perfect example how a hardware play was done by Amazon, where they said, okay, wait on, you want to read a book, you have to figure out where it is, what are the reviews, how many people liked it, not like it, should I read it? You spend enormous amount of time traveling, figuring out a bookstore. Even if the book comes, you read it, what to do with it. Kindle solved so many customer problems by saying you have an easier solution. You can read the book in a digital format in a similar experience as you would be reading it on paper format. And moving on to a smartphone, I think that is the revolution of 20th century, 21st century, and that has disrupted, you name it, print, music, computer, photography, software industry. I think every industry in the world has been impacted by or disrupted by how started by iPhone, but now Android and iPhone are bringing newer and newer things on the phone. And all of this business, one thing is common, that is they are technology led. But why technology has an edge, why technology is such an effective disruptor in terms of disrupting? And I thought about it. I said, if you have to do anything at scale, if you want to give as a company a consistent yet personalized experience, you want to do things on real time, you have to decrease your costs, you want to do things which are replicable across geographies, across different kind of people, etc., etc. technology is one tool which enables you to do that. And that's why if you can directly or indirectly apply technology in an efficient manner, you can disrupt many of these industries, and media being the favorite child because that is so much customer centric that media and tech goes hand in hand. Now let's take some examples from these businesses. Let's take example of Netflix. How Netflix is offering experiences which are differentiated. So you look, many of us might be having a Netflix button on the remote. So on your smart TV, you don't have to go through many hoops to end up on Netflix. You can just press the button and go directly to Netflix. Similarly, easy access to personalized content through profiles. So if me, my wife, my kids have different profiles, they know that when they go to their profile, they will get recommendations of their interest. Interestingly, the thumbnail could also change. So for the same piece of content, the thumbnail which come for me would be different from the thumbnail which will come on my wife's profile, because it will be suited to attract me as a user versus my wife. So that's how much personalized they are now. Then they came up with originals to give access to exclusive content. Another feature which many people love when you are doing binging, you have easy access to start again. When you go back to, let's say, season 3, episode 2, oh, I left it at 15 minutes. They will actually start it 10 seconds before you have left, so that you recollect what it was, and then you start watching again. That's a perfect example of giving a customer experience where customer said, okay, this particular company or platform understands me. Then you can download, like earlier it was a TV only, then you have a mobile app, and you can just download, and you don't have to worry whether you are traveling on a flight and you don't have internet access. You download enough content and you can move on. Plans, this is very interesting. This I very recently experienced myself when I bought a new smart TV, which is a 4K TV. Actually, when I was setting it up, Netflix gave me a recommendation while I was putting my username password that, do you want to change your plans? Because earlier I was using a HD TV, and Netflix viewing experience for 4K is better, and they do a 4K streaming. So do you want to move to that? And that's a recommendation Netflix gave by identifying that I have moved on my television set. And the last one is my personal favorite, because every week I get an email from Netflix, which basically helps me to understand what my kids are watching in their profile, what kind of content. And not that I'm spying on them, but it is a pleasant surprise for me to know, okay, what kind of content my kids are watching, because they are very impressionable, and it is good for me to understand and then talk to them about that and engage with them on that kind of content. So these are some examples of how customer centricity can be focal point of your product and service. Similarly, for the company I work, Glance, which is a lock screen platform, we also took a customer-centric approach. I think the one thing which is common within the company is, are we offering the greatest customer experience possible to our users? And we took a surface out approach, as I said. We said, as you're entering in your device, you're passing through the lock screen. And lock screen is, I think, unlocked by various users depending on their frequency, 150 to 400 times a day. And that's a perfect place for you to actually engage with the user in a content which is very, very frictionless. But it makes your content consumption really easy if it is relevant. So we thought we can use the power of lock screen in various ways. And we started with a content out product. On the left, you see an image, which is a personalized content for me on my lock screen, which came this afternoon. And depending on it, you have to give consistent experience, but depending on whether I engage more with videos, images, text, when I click on it, and the clicking of this is as simple as you say a romantic song, and I click on it, and then it will take me to a page which is we call binge, where I am now engaging with the content. If I don't want to, I can just put my thumbnail and unlock my phone and use my phone. I can start watching the video then and there. And we also realize that most of the content platforms do ask the user what kind of language you want to choose, but users in India specifically, and specifically south of India, are capable of consuming content in multiple languages. So our platform actually operates at any given time where the feed is in multiple languages and not limited to, let's say, Hindi only or English only. It could be Hindi, English, Marathi, Tamil. If I know 4 languages, I will get a feed which is a mix of all the 4. And because this is lock screen, this is always on. So the user always feels that the product is there and I can consume the content which I like, especially because we do live streaming. So it is real time. So you get to see that content as it happens. So if I am a movie lover and the match starts, the commentary will come right there on the stream, the live stream will come right there on my lock screen. And some of the user pain points, which for better customer experience, which we had to solve was that the product doesn't have to be downloaded. It should come in a native manner as a native lock screen for the smartphone. Even the games, there's a tab inside where you can play games. You can just go and play games without downloading them. Even with data becoming so easily accessible now, but the fun fact is that 20 to 30% of people still in India switch off their data. And you don't have connectivity all across as you have in metros. So we made a product which works in an offline mode. So whenever it picks internet, it will download content which the users can use while they are on move or they don't have data connectivity. And then one thing which we realize for better customer experiences, if it's a lock screen product, it's always there while you are with your friends, family, or in office. So you have to make content which is safe. And we solve for that, making a feed which is very family safe, we call. Because many times your kids just take your phone and want to play with it. You don't want to unlock it and give it to them. But this is a great way of making sure that they see family safe content, or people who are with you see content which is safe for you and they don't judge you. So I think at every point in our making of Glance, we were keeping customer experience as the topmost priority, and that has paid. What is the summary of all this? Well, if your business is not tech enabled and customer centric, it will soon be disrupted. So you should think whether these traits are there in your business. If not, you could actually disrupt your own business to make it such that it is giving the best customer experience. So coming back, how can we stretch the frontiers? Well, the dimensions we are talking about is media and tech. I think on media side, we all know that digital media is the one which will stretch the boundaries of customer experience because that's where the user is spending their time. And as a brand or as a company, you should think of how you can leverage that and how you can play on the content which is generated by the users for the users. And I think the amalgamation of that is going to play a significant role in terms of how the users will spend their time. And that's why you can use it to push for the best customer experience. When it comes to tech, I think we all know that data and AI would change the future of personalization, but are the companies ready for it? And if not, what needs to be done so that it can be done? And the second thing is that I think as a businessman, we should think of what is the best user experience and how I can use tech to disrupt the existing flows or existing ways in which the user experience is delivered. I think if we can solve for that, we can definitely offer a much superior customer experience to our users. So these are just perspectives. I'm sure everyone will take their own learnings from this. These are mine, which I wanted to share. So I'll stop now. Thank you. Professor, you're on mute, I think.
Hello.
All right. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I just want to say, Aditya, thank you for the excellent presentation of the complex topic that has been given to you, and part of it has been modified by you, as you said, in terms of speaking about customer experience and not just about customer engagement. And you touched upon a variety of topics interconnected with customer experience. And in fact, answered many of the ideas that were put forward in my initial introduction. I just want, in terms of taking forward, I think we have another probably about 20 minutes. And I would like to take about 10 minutes to have a quick interaction session with you in terms of some lead questions. And then we'll have another 10 to maximum of, say, 15 minutes for the participants. Is that okay? Is that good? Okay.
Yeah.
Fine. So I just want to put across 2 or 3 specific questions based on your presentation, Aditya. So the one is what I call the customer experience gap, that, whenever we speak about customer experience, as a business, as an organization that is in the business of selling products or services, we have a certain notion of customer experience that we are fulfilling. And we think that this experience is highly valuable for our customers. But there is another sense of valuation that the actual customer is feeling from the experience that he is actually getting from the use of our product or service. So this I would call as the customer experience gap.
Yeah.
Now, how do you think technology will be helpful to look at this, understand this customer experience gap? And in what way can technology be used to bridge this gap?
Very good question. I think this is a challenge which all of us face and try to solve for. There are various ways, but I think the most important thing, even before the technology comes, the mindset and acceptance of this gap, I think, is the biggest thing which can make or break the solution. Because many times people think that what they're offering is the best. I think if there is that battle won, that we can improve our processes to give better customer experience, that is half the battle won.
Mm-hmm.
How technology can be used to do that, I think technology is a great, it can be done in various ways if you are redesigning your processes. But before even that, technology is a great tool to measure that what you think is the best experience versus what your customers think. I can take one example to outline how technology is being used like that. So we realized that even in the media industry, people were going for surveys to understand what the user is feeling versus what we think the user is feeling. And these surveys used to take between 1 to 2 months, depending on how many users you want to interview, etc., etc. And within our company, we came up with a product called Pulse, which was able to actually do these surveys in hours. Rather than going and figuring out, we were incentivizing the users, targeting them because we had the tech to target them, because targeting is most important when you are trying to do a focus group feedback session, and then using tech in a way where you are getting that feedback at a frequency of hours. And then at least measuring is a very important tool to understand where the problem lies, or it is at the benchmark you want it. And that's one starting point. The second is, if you are ready to change your process, look, if you want to change the matrix, you have to change something at the back end.
Right.
And if you are doing that, then I think tech again plays a very important role, depending on the industry you are in, to make it much more efficient and scalable. And with the points which I talked about, how you can personalize, how you can scale. If the path is decided that we will change our existing processes, and then the feedback loop of again measuring it and seeing whether what you are doing is right or wrong, or is effective or not.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think that kind of really helped to answer the question the second question that I have is, how do you see customer experience in terms of, I mentioned in my introductory context setting that customers have become complex in terms of the level of expectations. that they have. And in the content creation sector that I'm involved with, earlier it was movies, and now it is more of web films and web series. We have a principle or a mantra that, how do we align our story, our storytelling to the expectations of the audience? So aligning the expectations of the customer to what is actually in our product or service. Now, how do you see technology helping us in trying to align these expectations so that we don't have a huge gap in the customer experience perception, which we spoke about just a few seconds ago. So do you think this kind of strategy of trying to align expectations so that we have customers who don't feel disappointed or don't feel let down in spite of having a very good tech backup?
Again, a very interesting question. Look, my take on this is, it is especially in the content field, it is very difficult to please everyone. So
Leave that.
So at least the mantra which many of the OTT or platforms like ours is following, and some of them have mastered this, is to actually have so much liquidity of content and then use targeting and personalization to ensure that you deliver the content to people in the way they like it, at the time they like, and the kind they like. I think, having said that, for production houses, when as a standalone, it is not possible because they are doing quality content. And in that, let's take example of Netflix again. Netflix is looking at your data in such a way that when they give feedback for their originals, go and make an action movie, then they probably even have inputs that this should be the duration of action sequence, this kind of special effect should be used, so that at least the lovers of action movie get what they want, because they understand our preferences so much.
Right.
I think knowing what your users like and then playing on that and then making sure that content gets delivered to those users is a potent strategy, because anyway, not all content can be produced for all the users.
Right. Absolutely. Thank you, Aditya. I think I'm going to stop with these two questions from my side. And I think it's time to get the participants involved. This is an excellent breadth of insights that Aditya has provided. And also we've got a bit of exposure to his own organization, what they are doing, Glance, which is very interesting. So let's have the door open for participants now. Let's have the questions. Yes, I have Mr. Lakshman Rao. Yeah.
Hello.
Please go ahead.
He's on mute. Lakshmanji, can you please unmute yourself?
Yeah, could you please unmute, I think?
Hello?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, I'm wanting to share some thoughts with Mr. Goyal, sir. If you put in the place of customer, a voter and a taxpayer, and the marketer is the government, okay, how the scenario will change? Number two, media is doing a lot of mischief now. It is not for lack of access to data. It is their inability to analyze this data statistically and make a comment. Today, the morning paper confuses people more than informing people. So many of us have stopped reading paper because they are biased towards something and their editorials are not straight. So this is what I want to tell. And now, what is happening to BSNL as an example? What is their look at the customer's experience? What actions they have taken? You have narrated what is, but the participants would like to know what should be and how it can be. Put the marketer as a government, a civic body, a hospital, an education institution, and IIM Ahmedabad. They are the marketers. What is their concern? How much do they care for customers' experience in modifying their decision? I am a statistician speaking from Chennai. I am a random question maker. Please elaborate on these things. Let us bring value for such panel discussions. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I want this narration. I would like Mr. Kandaswamy also to react and give an opportunity for the participants so that more and more participants are willing to participate rather hearing a monologue of these panel discussions. Thank you, sir.
Well, I think that's a bunch of questions rolled into one. Thank you, Mr. Lakshman. So, Aditya, would you like to?
I would, in the interest of time and so that other people can also speak, I will give my one-liner reflections on this. I have a lot of sympathy with taxpayers. You replace them, doesn't matter, no one cares about taxpayer experiences. I have a lot of respect for voter experience because they have power and they can change things. Unfortunately, voter experience in terms of number is not equal to taxpayer experiences. I think things which I didn't touch upon, but which play a very massive role in terms of law, policies, privacy policies, regulations, which have a very important role to play in terms of how media operates, how within data, that is the privacy laws, etc., that plays into action. And I didn't go in that side, but that is another PhD topic in my opinion. But I agree with you, sir, that there are all kind of things happening within media and within the data side where privacy is also sometimes compromised, and we should be very careful for that. I'll stop here.
And request participants to be brief and have questions. You can put the question directly.
Sure. If okay, I'll go ahead with the question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you so much for taking the effort and taking all of us through this great presentation. You put a chart showcasing the amount of time spent on television and traditional media and amount of time spent on digital media. I think it added up to something like 8-9 hours a day, 8 hours a day, just looking at the mobile screen. As the amount of hours as a proportion of the day, so I'm waking time in a day 16 hours. I'm spending almost 50, 60, 70% of my time looking at different media, ranging television, cable, etc. Is that going down? How does advertising evolve from here? So I'll switch off my video. I think there's some
some interruption.
So, right. So I'll maybe summarize the question in one sentence quickly. As the amount of time is spent on different media goes up so high, it's already 50% plus of the waking part of the day. The quality of impact any advertising create, does that go down, or does it just keep going? Is there a diminishing marginal utility there for advertisers?
Great question. One few trends within this trend actually is that there is a concept of second screen which is becoming really popular within advertisements, and I see that happening with myself. Like you're watching TV and at the same time you're watching on your mobile something. So that is becoming much more common. I think for advertisers there is nothing like opportunity. And any opportunity that comes, whether on TV or on phone, is a great opportunity if capitalized properly. So I would say that excess of everything is bad, and advertising industry is regulating itself with frequency capping, etc., because they do realize that excess would not give them results. So there is a marginal utility. But as an industry, I would say it is a great trend because it just opens more avenues for people to bring out their messages to their target audiences.
Okay. Any other questions? We still have some time.
I actually, there was a question which came up in the chat from
Okay.
some participants. So I would just probably ask that. So this question is that, Aditya, you started your career in the finance world and you were there for quite a while. In fact, you reached quite great heights in that world, investment banking, private equity, and all. And then you switched to the media and entertainment industry. So I think there are a number of people on this call who are young folks trying to build their career in the media and entertainment industry. So they just want to understand that, first of all, were your skill sets from the finance world and private equity useful in this field? And for secondly, like for someone who wants to build their career in this field, what are the skill sets which they can probably, develop, which help them in this field as they grow forward?
Okay. Well, I would first start with why did I switch? I think the reason for me to switch from growth investing to tech-led media platform, I would say, is because I was at a stage in my career where I said that what would I like to do? And in an economy which was going around me and newer interesting business models are coming. And I thought that, well, I can be one who is participating in terms of investing in the value creation and watch the match from the sidelines, or I can actually go and play the match. Rather than be in bookie or putting money, I can actually create value by directly playing that match. And the answer which I had was, I want to play the match. So that's why I joined Glance when Glance was starting as a founding team member. And it has been I would say, a much more interesting journey for me than what it was during my investing days, because I think taking something from zero to where Glance is today is a phenomenal ride. Now, what are the skill set? I think, look, it's not rocket science, unless, and there are, by the way, as for people who are young in their journeys, there are sometimes roles where they start, where they are getting more generalist kind of experiences. And then there is a time when it comes where you want to think, oh, I want to specialize in this area. I think that, yes, there are skill sets which you pick on your way as you are doing things. But the most important skill set which you should pick, in my experience, is what value you are creating and what the impact of that value creation would be in any line you are in. If you think on the project you are working is not going to move the needle, at least I think that way. If the project I'm working is not going to move the needle significantly for the company or business I'm working for, then probably I'm not working on the right project. And that doesn't mean that those projects are not to be done. That just doesn't tie in with my interests. And I want to do things which impact things significantly. So there are some, I would say there are technical skills and there are softer skills to be learned. You just, as you plan for your career, you should just say, okay, these are the directions I want to go in, and these are the right set of technical and soft skills which I need to have. And there is no better teacher than experience, which teaches you the right skills for the job you are in.
Absolutely. Just like to add to what Aditya spoke about, and I think the two types of skills that he mentioned about them are very important. I'd also like to add that one of the key skills that should be additionally learned by executives today is making the ability to make short videos. Today, with the help of your iPhone or an advanced smartphone, today you're traveling with a camera, you're traveling with all the production equipment that you have. Okay, and it is if you can develop your creative thinking process, then you have the equipment to make the videos. And today what we find is that whether it's the top management or the CEOs or your own colleagues in the organization, they all understand the 3 to 5 minute video much better than giving them 100 pages of a report. So while the report is still very important because it has data, it has insights, if you can supplement that with a video making skill, this is very important. And today, many B schools are actually offering these workshops to develop these skills at the MBA level itself, including our campus. Okay, I think let's have other questions. How much time do we have? Should I ask Vidhi if we have another 5 minutes for the participants?
Yeah, definitely. We have
Amit has his
interesting-
hand up, I think. Amit,
Yeah.
Amit.
Yeah, okay, please go on, Amit.
Yeah, Aditya, actually, I had prepared one question, but you have changed the topic, so I have to modify
You can-
and
you
come
can-
up with a different question.
You can ask the original question too.
That's okay. So I was just saying, that, we are talking about stretching our, frontiers for the better customer experience, but, it is also putting up the pressure on the companies to keep on stretching it. Now, in that context, with that pressure in mind, do you think that, or how do you assess that, if I come up or in my opinion, if I do something, different for enhancing the customer experience, but it backfires me and, the experience which was there already, the customer with my new initiative, even that experience is gone now. So, it's a very thin line, when to stretch.
Yes, yes.
So if you can just give an
Yeah,
insight on that.
great question. Look, there's a micro answer and then there's a macro answer. Let me give the micro one. I think if you realize that your experience is broken, and that realization for the business you are running comes very naturally, if you talk to your customers and see your business results, I think the answer is obvious, that it needs to change. The change process is a delicate process, and a lot of thought process needs to go there. At least in the digital businesses we are running, we do a lot of testing, very cautious scale up to make sure that experience is robust experience while we are changing, because the whole organization actually goes through the change when you do that. But I think there's a meta answer to it, if I have to say, and you see what has recently happened with Facebook. Facebook decided to just change its focus, the kind of experience they want to give, say that, okay, we are going to a metaverse, and Facebook is just one of the businesses for us. So is Insta, so is WhatsApp. And we are going to develop a whole new set of experiences where I would call it a whole new set of universe, where the laws of that universe would be determined by how we feel. And the committed cost is 10 billion, but I am sure it might just go up. But the underlying thesis is that it's a gut call, but when you know that there is a point where disruption is needed, businesses go for it. It all depends on the wherewithal you can put in. And I think that's how disruptions happen, because when large amount of customer focus with the right capital and right tech comes in, then only these things can happen, where new experiences get generated. But I really like this, where customers are putting, because of competition or because of whatever reasons, are pushing the companies to come up with better and better customer experiences.
Yeah, great. I think this is the reply that can be because there is no fixed answer to it.
Yeah.
Business is all about taking risk in any case.
Right. In fact, just to add to what Aditya said, there is an increase in the bar that is being raised every time. With every new technological disruption or innovation, the bar is raised. And it sets in motion a whole process of new customer experiences. Okay, I think probably we have time for one more question. I'm sure there are many participants out there who, please go ahead. Mr. Singh is. Mr. Singh, you would like to say something, ask a question?
No, actually I joined very late, so I have missed out the talk. So there's nothing that I can bring it up at the moment.
Fine.
There's one thing which somehow bothers me is that the media is becoming so imposing on us. It's take mobile for example. It's a free instrument for the business. They keep sending messages, repetitive, the same message every day. You cannot stop it. You can say it's a spam, it doesn't go away. They start sending emails. What for? I mean, you've given me message once, I've understood. Okay, maybe after a week you can repeat it. But it's something which I find is imposing on my life and I don't feel very comfortable with. I am sure there is no simple answer to it because business is all powerful as far as the governments are concerned. They provide jobs, but looking at it from the individual and the citizen's point of view, it's the point that bothers me. I wonder.
Thank you for saying that.
Aditya, would you like to have a quick response to that?
Yeah, I think that is precisely what I call a negative customer experience. And businesses will learn either because their sales will go down or negative feedback on social media, etc. comes through, or they directly take feedback from the customer. But that's exactly the kind of things which harms a business more than they benefit from.
Right. Well, I think all good things come to an end. I just request Aditya Kumar to just come forward and formalize the conclusion of this good event.
Thank you, Professor Kandaswamy, for that. For me, it was this is a very peculiar sort of a session because, as part of the IMS CME ASIC, I was fortunate to have been an organizer of this event, but also on the other hand, Aditya Goel also happens to be my boss in a way. So in the company I work with, so it was a very mixed sort of a thing. So the speaker we were inviting was also in a way professionally related to me, and obviously the organizers were part of the body I am part of anyway. So I see Aditya Goel in the company pretty regularly, but even for me. So mostly in the company, we talk about very particular topics which we are dealing with on that day, right? Never had I actually got a primer from Aditya about the media industry, which is a first for me also. I actually see one more person from Glance on the audience list, and I'm sure that even that person gained quite a lot of knowledge from Aditya, which we don't gain maybe in our regular day-to-day jobs in the company. But so I can just imagine that, even for the others, at least, from what I have gone through, I think this was a pretty informative sort of a presentation. Just, before we close up, I just wanted to touch upon the 4 or 5 main points, I think, which struck me in Aditya's talk, which sort of, according to me, were the key points which underlined the entire talk. So the first one was the very idea of him changing the topic which we had set, which was essentially because, customer experience is actually the superset of customer engagement. So in our amateur knowledge of the media industry, we actually set a topic focusing on stretching the frontiers of customer engagement. But he very rightly, while changing the topic also, he educated us that, it's actually customer engagement is just a subset of customer experience. And we actually saw in his talk how that is so. So for example, the most successful businesses, as he told us, Apple and Amazon, 2 examples which he took, which obsessively focus on customer experience. For them, that is the main, that's the crux of the business, and everything else is to fulfill that vision of customer experience. And they are no doubt like the most successful businesses in the world. And so there must be truth to the point which he said that, your customer is your biggest brand ambassador. So obviously there must be some truth to that topic. And then, one thing which I found very interesting was, he actually took us through on a history of the development of the media industry, and how, innovations and development in the field of media have taken place over the centuries. I had never imagined that he would actually touch upon cave paintings also as a form of media. But now that I think of it, that's very true. I mean, that is a form of media, right? Because what is media if not a means of communication at the end of the day? So then, we looked at how cave paintings evolved to paper, to telephony, to mass media, to videos, high resolution videos. And I think the underlying point in all this was what he said, that the media industry leapfrogs through technological innovations, and that's something which struck me as very true. We also looked at one very interesting point which he touched upon was the data explosion factor. So he did tell us that what in the current scheme of things in our world right now, an explosion in media means an explosion in data. And that is also the source of competitive strength for the companies which will exploit it. For example, Netflix, as he said, as he mentioned, it's that personalized that even shows different thumbnail images for different people for the same show based on their interests. And one very interesting thing which I found was he actually took two live case studies. One was again Netflix, and the other was Glance, which is the company he works in. And he touched upon the levers which both these companies employ to provide the best customer experience to their respective users. So I think with this, these were the main points which I took from the talk. And of course, he ended with the summarization of the entire talk, in which, if I am not mistaken, he summarized it as stretching the frontiers of customer engagement would probably mean looking at 3 or 4 things very dedicatedly in today's technological world. One would be to be data ready. The company must be data ready. Then it should also think of how to use the existing technologies to disrupt the existing customer experience paradigms, existing technology as well as technologies in the offing to disrupt the existing customer experience. And then one very interesting thing which it touched upon a number of times was this topic of user generated content and shareability. So as we see, all these TikToks of the world are focusing on this, and they are actually racing far ahead of their peers. So obviously there must be some truth to focusing on user generation and shareability. And then I think the last point of his presentation, he came back to the original topic which we had posed to him, and that was, in the entire universe of building customer experience, you also will build your engagement. You try to put in some levers which bring the user back to your platform in a good way. Again, as I think Professor Singh also mentioned, we don't want to force the user to look at our content by sending them, repetitive messages and badgering them, but, build some levers by which the user himself or herself wants to come back to your service. And that can only happen when you add value to the user. So that's a win-win for both, the user and your service. So I think those were the key points which at least I took away, and forgive me the audience if I missed some point, but with that, I would, I have this Professor Kandaswamy has given me this great honor to, deliver the closing statements. So I would first of all, obviously thank Aditya Goel. I mean, that's an obvious thing for, gracing our first ever session of the Communication, Media and Entertainment Alumni Special Interest Group of IIM Ahmedabad. And as we mentioned in the beginning, he is not, we are not going to leave him right now. His duties are not over after 5 p.m. He unfortunately or fortunately will have to stay on as a mentor of this nascent ASIG. And we will be, looking to him for guidance for the future sessions as well as our future activities. Thank you, of course, Professor Kandaswamy, who is the mentor professor for this CME ASIG. He has been the constant presence since the start of the ASIG and from the faculty side, and bringing all the resources of the institute for us to help us do what we want to do. Thank you in extension to Anurag and Vidhi, who are part of IMA's alumni and external relations cell, who are basically the backbone of everything we do. So all the entire logistical processes behind all the sessions and activities are handled by Anurag's team. And Vidhi in particular, she is the person who is running around, sending out invites, doing all the creative work and everything. So, she is the backbone in a way of the ASIG. Thank you to all the members of the ASIG, some of whom are present in the group today, for all the enthusiasm and for basically being the reason why we are doing anything we are doing, because, at the end of the day, it's the team. As I think it's mentioned in a lot of war movies that, at the end of the day, it's only the men and women beside you, and that's all it is. So that's the only reason for doing anything. And this ASIG is like a family for everyone. And in the end, thank you to the entire alumni community and to the other people from outside the alumni community, some of the people from Glance who have joined in, some of the people from all the other industry, all the other companies in the industry, some academia people have also joined in. So thank you to all of you for, attending our session, our first ever session. It means a lot because it's the first ever session. And looking forward to your participation in the future sessions as well. Yeah, that's it. Thank you. That's it from my end.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.